Hey guys, welcome back to the Mountain Wizard. If you are into all things self-sustainability, homesteading, or rainwater catchment, off-grid living, then this is the channel for you. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like and follow along. Today, I'm going to go over a few of the things with the rainwater system. I'm going to go over valves, a repair made on the valves. I'm going to show you the finished product on that and why they're important. So we're going to discuss that in this video and just give you all, share with you all some of my experience as I've progressed along this life where we've lived off of rainwater and are storing just over 20,000 gallons of rainwater for our family of 5 here in the mountains of southeastern Oklahoma. So come along, let's check it out. All right, you see this leak right here? It's getting to be a pretty major problem. Without this shutoff valve, fixing this little leak would mean draining thousands of gallons of water from our rainwater system. And that's exactly why every tank on this homestead has isolation valves. Today, I'm going to show you how one of that simple component, like a valve, is making this a very minor repair instead of a huge one where I have to lose thousands of gallons of water that are stored in these tanks. So I noticed this fitting started dripping here a couple weeks ago, and I was just being aware of it, and I was coming out and opening the valve as needed to fill our main draw tank and then shutting it off, especially when it was raining and things like that. But it has progressively gotten worse, and I try to drive home the point that you have got to have isolation valves everywhere that you can think that maybe one would be nice. Add it. That $10 fitting or $15 fitting is going to save you thousands of gallons of water in the event of a line break, and you are going to have line breaks. It's a thing. Okay, I've been here for 8 years. I can't tell you how many water leaks I've fixed over the years because this entire homestead relies on water, and there is plumbing and piping and fittings and filters and valves going every which direction, to the orchard, to the chickens, to the livestock out in the fields, to the garden, to the home itself, and everywhere in between that tie these tanks. So you will learn how to become a plumber if you're going to have a homestead. But I implore you to please put in the valves. It will save you a lot of heartbreak. If, there have been times that we have lost water, and it is bad enough to come out and lose water when, unexpectedly. But it's a totally different thing to lose all of your water and to drain every tank. Fortunately, we've never had that happen, but that is because we utilize these isolation valves and limit what water we can even possibly lose. And in times of a real drought, we will use our main tank, this first catchment tank here, and we might fill our main tank halfway, so about 1,250 gallons. And we'll use that down to about 500, and then we'll fill it up to about 1,250 again, instead of having a full 2,500 gallons down there, knowing we're in a drought, possibly having a line rupture, and losing a full 2,500 gallons. We'd much rather lose, 1,000 or so. So it helps you, when you've got limited rainflow or rainfall, to really limit your potential losses. Because it seems it's like Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. So when you're in a drought, that's when you're going to end up losing a whole bunch of water. So I'm going to show you how I repair this, what I'm going to access, and what my plan is here. My plan here is to excavate this out with a shovel and a small pick so I don't break any lines. I'm just going to take my time. I've got 3 tools here. Got my shovel, a little pick, and then a trowel, like a garden trowel, and that's what we'll really use to access this. I'm going to get down and I'm going to figure out what fittings I need, and I think I'm going to add another T here in the center to come out this way, and that way I have the opportunity or the option to tie in additional tanks as I see fit. We seem to be getting a lot of rainfall this spring, a little bit more than normal, and I want to take advantage of all the water I can capture. So I've got a few tanks over in storage that I believe I'm going to come over and set up to help at least catch some more and store some more of this rainwater. And then as they empty, then we'll go on about life. But you never know if a drought's going to hit. I have the tanks. I might as well use them. So this will also give me an option where if I need to fill maybe a firefighting apparatus or something like that, I will have a quick fill by having this extra valve here on the bottom that I can pump out of or draw from. You don't really want to pump, but anyways, draw from to be able to fill a tank rapidly or things like that. So we're going to excavate this down, get these fittings broke apart, re-glue all of that, but I'm also going to add in another T, which goes down the hill to our main. Let's see here if I can zoom in. In that shed down there is where we have our main tank and filtration system that we draw from. So very much something that you're just going to have sweat equity in and just labor in this. To repair, but gives me a good reason to go ahead and get in here and tee in this other line like I've discussed, and have another option for moving water and tying in water. It was a military shovel. I don't know what the term is for it, but it has been my favorite digging shovel. And I have had this for probably close to 20 years now, because I got it before I got married. So it has definitely got some age on it. I've tried to treat it as well as I can, but I've also used it quite a bit. And I am in need of another. The blade is showing quite the signs of wear from all these years of digging in Oklahoma rock. So if you know of a lead on a good reliable shovel, and I don't mean, look, see how the angle of this says AMESFSS on the head of it here, but it's the angle that makes this such a difference when you're going to dig. I don't want a normal spade shovel. You know, some of them come down straight like that. That's not what I want. This is more you're digging. This is like a working man shovel here. This is for a guy who knows that he needs to dig and move soil. Got some little spots there at the top to be able to put your foot to press in, and it's got a sharp point. When this was new, it was very pointy and very sharp. You could cut roots and stuff easily. Okay, so I've got this dug down, cleaned out, got quite the pile of clay here that we've dug down. And I'm going to show you how this pipe is. This 2-inch pipe here on the ground, it's still, you can see the scrape in the top of it. That pipe right there is the main supply, the 2-inch supply down to our pump house. This line comes out, tees over, and picks up this other 2,500 gallon tank, and they will equalize in pressure and in volume as they fill. When this 2,500 gallon tank gets full, I close this valve, and that way that tank is isolated now, and then I will draw from this. If I feel like we're going to be out of water for a while, I will drop a submersible pump in this one. When I say out of water, I mean it not rain for a while. I will drop a submersible pump in this one, and I will pump it over above with a garden hose into this tank, into that fill port right there, okay? Right there. And you've seen me do that before in other videos. But these are teed together with a 2-inch line so they equalize quickly. We get a flash flood event, basically where we're getting like 3 inches of rain in an hour. You know, that could net us 4,500 gallons, give or take. Actually, a little bit over that. But give you a pretty good idea. That's a massive flow, and that would be enough to fill both these tanks really quickly. So that's why the 2-inch T line. When we want to send this pump here, or this tank here, down to our main draw, we will open this valve and leave this valve closed. And that way it's not flowing back into that tank. It's only flowing directly down into the ground and on that 2-inch feeder line. When it goes down into our main draw tank, it's hooked up to a float valve, so it's not like we'll lose all of this water. Okay, so this is isolated. That's isolated. What we're going to do now is I'm going to crack open this valve, and we're going to check and see if there's any other leaks. This very well could just shoot off of here with 4 psi pressure. It may not, but there's always that potential. I'm going to crack open this, get a little bit of water flowing where I can wipe off this pipe and clean it up some, and then I will work on getting the rest of this pipe and getting fittings accounted for and what all I need to be able to repair this. All right, so cleaned off that pipe. I'm going to go over here before I go making a trip to the plumbing supply store, the hardware store. Every good homestead needs a good selection of plumbing supply parts. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to show you my storage for my plumbing parts. I'm going to dig out, see what I got on hand, and see if I've got what I need to do what I want for this, and if not, what I need from there. I do try to keep a few valves and things on hand, but sometimes projects get overlooked. So the way I keep my plumbing parts is in these totes. I get these from Home Depot for like $6 or $7 a piece. And 4-inch S&D is like our gutter stuff. This is 4-inch Schedule 40, 3-inch, and 2-inch, and then it goes on from there. But the 2-inch is what we're looking for today. So I'm going to see about getting you set up on the camera where you can watch, and I can pull that out and dig around and see what I got. All right, let's slide out our 2-inch here. This is all of our 2-inch Schedule 40. So we need a T and a valve, preferably. That valve has been glued. I'm not completely opposed to having it be a threaded valve. I'll have to think about that. Set that there just in case. That's a Y. You know, if I set this up right, I could be able to do like a quick connect like this. So that's a thought as well. The way that would work is just like so, where you could quickly attach a line. These things can be a pain. But anyways, you could quickly attach a line to move water. All right, there's a T that we need. And there's a 2-inch valve. So we want a T in, have a 2-inch valve. I'm going to double check and make sure I don't have one that is threaded. I will leave a little bit of a gap here just in case this valve ever broke and needed to be swapped out. It could just be cut off and then glued again, a new one. But those two things there are fairly expensive, so that'll save that for the time being. Now, let's see. What I would like to have is a threaded cap on the end of that. I'm going to take this coupling just in case, because I may need this in order to be able to get the T on there properly. Make sure the O-ring's in there. I may have to glue that on there in order to make all this happen. There's a little piece of 2-inch we'll take. These little sleeve couplers are good too if you, they make one where you don't have to take apart the pipe. They're typically a stainless clamp, but these are good if you just need to make a quick repair and it's low pressure. And this would be a 2-inch thread right there, which I could put on. That would give me an adapter there. What I'll probably do is make several adapters and put them inside this valve box. This is going to be a multi-step process, it seems. I don't know that I have a threaded cap. That's not something I buy very often. There's 2 more valves in case we need them. Yeah, a lot of my caps are glue-on. And that's not what I'm shooting for here. But I wonder if this cap here will work. And this is just in case something went wrong. Okay, so this cap would work. We could put some Teflon tape on that. And that way we've got a way to close that off on the end of this valve. And just in case there was a leak or something, or the valve failed. So I think that's going to do what we need in the way of repairs. And knowing too that I could always screw on this 2-inch and then be able to have a quick attach for this as well. So multitude of options. I think putting a threaded end on this is a good call. Allows us to be able to hook up many more pieces and attachments in the future. All right, now we'll get a milk crate, an empty one. And if you don't have an empty milk crate, just make it. I mean that by dumping everything out. So our T, piping, couplings, and may not need this right now. We'll leave this in that box. And now let's get some glue. We'll get glue and a Sawzall. We should be able to make good progress with our project here. Keep the glue in this more or less climate controlled shipping container where I house all the solar, and this will keep it from freezing. And then when I open up a pack of it like this, I tape them together so that we have always got the primer and glue with me. Now we need a Sawzall. All right, so dug around in my stash and found what I need, I think, to fix this. And so what I'm going to do is put the battery in the Sawzall here, get ready. I'm going to measure out this T, and I think I just want it right about here. So there's a center mark, and something like that is what's going to have to be cut out for that T to work. I don't know how much flex is going to be on this line. I'm going to cut here in the center. Actually, then I'm going to cut right here first and get this line broke apart where I can re-glue it. And then I may, in order to glue all this together right, I may have to add this union here. So I'm actually considering that ought to work. That ought to work. You about got to have a union like this when you're doing these sort of fittings and connections where things are fixed. You know, I can't move these tanks. But I'm going to say there's a good 2-inch difference in how this pipe should lie without any pressure on it. And I think that right there was causing pressure on the tank, pressure on these fittings, and caused that to be a problem. So, all right, I took the Hovsco Cargo e-bike over and went to the pipe rack and pulled off a section of pipe that was waste that I had laying on the ground. And then I got two 90s from that 2-inch tote where I keep those other plumbing fittings. So you can see the elevation drop there in the pipe, and I think that's what was causing the pressure on this. So I'll get this measured out and adjusted correctly. And you know, I'm sure this tank just settled over time, so no big deal. You know, I'm sure it was right when it was set, but we'll go ahead and Now that it's where it's at, after it's settled, we'll get these 90s a little bit closer together so the elevation is not putting such a bind on the pipe. I'm going to try to just lay this out, but my difference is going to be that we're going to measure from the top of this pipe to the top of the other one, and there's a 3-inch difference. So I'm going to make this connection right here, this piece of pipe, 3 inches shorter, and suck that up, and that'll help level this out and reduce some of the pressure there. So our T is going to go somewhere right around in here, and then I'm going to have to add this coupling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build out this probably to right here. I'll cut a piece to go in here, and it looks like I'm going to need one more 90 because I'm going to come out and up for this valve. I might even come out and hey, you know what? We now have an application for this piece. Perfect. I will glue that in like that, and that will allow this valve to come up. All right, now let's see what we got. Well, it is plenty warm enough, and I am ready to wrap up this project. It's been going on for longer than I anticipated. Isn't that the story of a homesteader's life? So, what I'm going to do, I got a pipe wrench here, which should open up wide enough, maybe. We're not looking to like crank down on this, but I just want it more snug than I can get it with my hand. Pipe wrench doesn't quite go large enough for this application. But we're going to make do because we should get it as tight as we need. Since we're not really trying to keep high pressure out, or in rather, we shouldn't have a problem getting it snug enough like that. So now let's get some glue on this fitting, glue this back down, and then I am going to go grab some SB2, which I had delivered the other day, not for this particular task, but since I have it, I am going to use it to pack around all of this. It'll be it'll set up much the same as cement, but unlike cement, I'll be able to dig it back out if I absolutely have to. Let's try and get this fitting back in. hopefully. Worst case, doing more. Yeah, there we go. So I may try and put some more glue on it right there. And then we'll push that back down. Okay, so everything is glued. I've got one more threaded piece I'm going to put on the end of this valve here, and that way I have a way to thread in a plug to plug this off. Appreciate you all hanging out and watching. Me take care of my projects. And then I got a little plug here, which probably was left over from one of these tanks. And that will screw in. I can remove that with a pipe wrench when the time is present. And we'll close that. Everything feels good and glued. And before I go checking too much for pressure, I'm going to let this glue set. And I'm going to go fill up a wheelbarrow and start carrying over some gravel. All right, moment of truth here. I'm going to dip out some of this water, and then I'm going to open up the valves and let things kind of equalize and see how everything acts. I'm dipping out the water before I do this for two reasons. One, I want to make sure there's no other leaks coming in or that have formed, or a bad glue joint or anything like that. And ultimately, I want the glue out before I put in this SB2 to help pack these pipes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and build a valve box here to cover up these pipes and protect them. All right, well, there it is. There is the completed valve box. Sturdy enough to walk on. Hinges there on the backside. And simple. Just what we're shooting for. Pull up on it, access all the valves. Gave this quite a bit of support. And now I'll get a little bit of gravel added in here and kind of close things up. Just a simple way to protect the pipes. I'm going to go finish unloading the UTV now and get a little bit of gravel and finish that off and be all done. Be a project that should have happened a long time ago. Now it's done. So, all right, folks. Well, I'm sure there'll be another one coming up soon. Mountain Wizard out. See ya.